Number 7. It is given as hydrogen gas in the 8-liter vessel at the 10 atmosphere pressure, and this hydrogen gas is used to fill the balloons, and every balloon has the volume 4 liter at 1 atmosphere pressure at temperature 27 degrees centigrade. Okay, from a big tank which consists the hydrogen gas. Okay, volume of the hydrogen gas 8 liter and pressure is the 10 atmosphere. This gas is transferred into the small cylinders, and every cylinder, every balloon has the volume 4 liter and pressure at 1 atmosphere, and temperature is given constant 27 degrees centigrade, and we have to find out, calculate the number of balloons that can be filled. What we need to understand in this case, we can transfer the gas from a big container to the smaller balloon till the pressure becomes the same. Look, initially we have the 10 atmosphere pressure here. So this gas from the high pressure to the low pressure can be transferred until the pressure in both the container become the same. Means gas from the 10 atmosphere pressure can be transferred up to the pressure of the gas become the 4 liter. Okay, so means we can withdraw the gas from the big container till the time the pressure inside the container become the 4 atmosphere. Okay, so what is the mole initially present in the big container? Number of moles, PV is equal to nRT, then N become PV upon RT. So what is the number of moles? Pressure is the 10, okay, and volume is the 8. So total number of moles become 10 into 8, 80 by RT. Okay, how many moles are remaining in that container? I have just informed you that we can withdraw the gas from the 10 atmosphere to the 4 atmosphere. So when we cannot fill the more balloons, at that time the pressure of the big container has to be the 4 atmosphere. Okay, then how many moles now remaining at that time? That is, number of moles remaining is the, still the volume is the 8 liter. What? The pressure of the balloon become the 1 liter. So 8 into 1 divided by RT, that is the 8 RT. These are the number of moles remaining. So how many moles we can transfer? Initially mole 80 upon RT. Final mole remaining inside the container 8 by RT. So how many mole we can transfer? Okay, moles transfer is the 80 by RT minus 8 by RT is equal to 72 by RT is the number of moles that can be transferred from the big container to the balloons. Now, what is the number of moles required to fill one balloon? Number of moles required to fill one balloon, what is that? PV upon RT. Balloon has the pressure 1 atmosphere and temperature is the 4. So how many moles required? 4 by RT, since temperature has to be the same. Temperature is given the same. Then how many number of balloon we can fill? That is the total number of moles transferred divided by number of moles required to fill one balloon. What is that total number of moles transfer? 72 by RT divided by moles required to fill the one balloon 4 by RT. RTY cancel out. What we have? 72 by 4. That is the answer is the 18. We can fill the 18 balloon. We can fill the 18 balloon by this method. Okay, so correct answer is the option number 2. Then check the next question. At 0 degrees centigrade, 4 atmosphere pressure, a mixture of 0.5 mole of the nitrogen and 1.5 mole of the oxygen occupied blank liter of the volume, fill the blank. We have to find out the exact value which we have to fill here. So this is, I think, the easy question, because we know PV is equal to nRT and volume become the nRT upon P. Okay, what is the number of moles given? 0.5 mole of the nitrogen gas plus 1.5 mole of the oxygen gas multiplied by 0.0821, temperature 0 degree centigrade, that is the 273, and divided by pressure is the 4. So what we have now, we have volume is equal to, look, you must know this thing, that this 2273 multiplied by 0.0821, this is always equal to the 22.4. If you know, it is very good. If you don't know, then you remember 0.0821 multiplied by 273 always give the value 22.4. So now volume is the what? 0.5 plus 1, 2 into 22.4 divided by 4. What is that? 22.4 divided by 2. And what is the answer? 11.2 liter is the answer. Means our correct answer of this question is the option number 3. Correct answer of this question is the option number 3. Now come to the question number 9. In a container, N2 gas and hydrogen vapors are present at the 27 degrees centigrade at 1 atmosphere and 3 liter. Okay, what will be the final pressure if volume reduced to 1 liter at the same temperature? Temperature is given same, then it has to be the question of the Boyle's law. And for the Boyle's law, we know what is the formula we have. We have the P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. But aqueous tension is given, and you must remember in my videos, okay, I have told you that we cannot apply the gas laws on the aqueous tension, because aqueous tension is the equilibrium pressure, and equilibrium pressure can only change by the temperature. Nothing else can change the aqueous tension. Okay, so we have to apply the P1 V1, but this P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2 cannot be applied on the aqueous tension. So total pressure include the pressure of the nitrogen gas plus pressure of the H2O vapors. Total pressure is given as 1 atmosphere. Pressure of the nitrogen gas we have to find out, and aqueous tension is given as 0.1. So pressure of the nitrogen become the 0.9 atmosphere. Okay, at this pressure of the gas we can apply the P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. Okay, so what is that? Now we apply P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2. Initially pressure of the nitrogen gas 0.1, initially volume 3 liter, final pressure we have to find out. And what is the volume now? Volume become the 1. So pressure become the 2.7 atmosphere. Okay, pressure become the 2.7 atmosphere. Just we put this value, the pressure become the 2.7 atmosphere. This 2.7 atmospheric pressure is the pressure of the nitrogen gas at the condition 2. Pressure of the nitrogen gas at the condition 2, but we want to calculate the total final pressure. Final pressure also include the pressure of the nitrogen gas plus aqueous tension, because still the water vapor is present in the same container. So what is the final pressure? Final pressure is the aqueous tension. Aqueous tension only depend upon the temperature, then it has to be the constant. Initially it was the 0.1, and after the changing the pressure and volume it has to be the 0.1 plus pressure of the nitrogen gas at the condition 2. Aqueous tension is the 0.1, pressure of the nitrogen gas is the 2.7, then answer of this question is the 2.8 atmosphere, which is given in the option number 1. So correct answer of this question is the option number 1. Maximum student they do the mistake, they apply the P1 V1 is equal to P2 V2 on the aqueous tension also, and maximum question will give the answer 3, but it is not the correct, my dear student. Why? Because we need to know aqueous tension only depend upon the temperature. If temperature remains the same, aqueous tension will not change. Now next question, it is the most easiest question which I have discussed up to this one. The vapor density of a gas is the 11.2 liter. Calculate the volume occupied by the 10 gram of the gas. Okay, so look, vapor density multiplied by 2 provide the molar mass. Vapor density is the 11.2 multiplied by 2 is equal to molar mass, and molar mass of the gas become 22.4. This is the molar mass of the gas become 22.4 gram. Okay, conditions. Volume occupied, calculate the volume occupied. One thing is more here given at STP. Okay, so look, this is the molar mass. Molar mass is the mass of the 1 mole. 1 mole of any gas at STP always occupy the volume 22.4 liter, and this 1 mole of the gas is equal to 22.4 gram. 22.4 gram is the molar mass of the gas, that is the mass of the 1 mole, and 1 mole of the gas at the STP occupy the volume 22.4 liter. So 22.4 gram of the gas is equal to 22.4 liter, then 10 gram of the gas becomes equal to the 10 liter. So correct answer of this question is the option number 1. I welcome you all again in the second part of the video of the chapter gas state. Now we start the next law, that is the Gram's law of the effusion. In this one, when a gas at the constant pressure and temperature is separated from the vacuum through a very small hole, then rate of effusion of the gas means how much fastly the gas comes out, that is called the rate of effusion, or how much slowly gas comes out, that is called the effusion. And rate of effusion is inversely proportional to the square root of the molar mass of the gas. This law is called the Gram's law of the effusion. Look, when a gas at the given pressure and temperature separated from the vacuum through a small hole, small opening or small orifice, the rate of effusion is inversely proportional to the square root of the molar mass of the gas. And we have a formula, R is equal to PA0 divided by under root 2 pi R mt. Okay, here P is the pressure of the gas, A is the area of orifice or area of the small hole, divided by under root 2 pi R universal gas constant, M is the molar mass, and T is the temperature. This formula is taken from the very reputed book, that is the Atkins books. Okay, now rate of effusion we can define in the few terms. Okay, what are those? It is volume or moles diffused per unit time. How many moles or how much volume of the gas comes out in a given unit time, that is called the rate of effusion of the gas or rate of diffusion of the gas. Or what is the distance traveled by the gas per unit time? How much is the distance traveled by the gas in the per unit time? That is also defined as the rate of effusion by the gas. Suppose this is the empty container. This container is the empty container. We have the perfect vacuum inside. At the one end, a container of the CH4 is connected, and here the opening is the square in shape, and area of the opening is the A square, pressure is the 4 atmosphere, and temperature is the 200 Kelvin. In the second container, oxygen gas is stored, and here the opening is the circular. Then area of the circular hole is the pi A square. It is stored at the pressure P1. It is stored at the pressure 1 atmosphere and at the temperature 400 Kelvin. Then we have to apply this equation for both the gases. What is it? That R1 divided by R2 is equal to P1 into A1 divided by under root M1 into T1 divided by P2 A2 divided by under root M2 T2. Okay, what we have? Under root M2 T2 divided by M1 T1 multiplied by the P1 A1 divided by P2 A2. Look, what is the molar mass of the second gas? 32. What is the temperature of the second gas? 400. What is the molar mass of the first gas? 16. What is the temperature of the first gas? 200. What is the pressure of the first gas? 4. What is the area of the orifice? A square What is the pressure of the second gas? 1 atmosphere. And what is the area of the orifice? Pi a square. When we solve this quantity, what we have the 8:pi, means these gas coming in the main container, in the empty container, in the ratio of 8:pi. Now we have the next example. We at the one end we have it very small tube of the 100 centimeter length. At the one end NH3 is there, at the another end HCl is there, and they are connected through a very small tube. The length of the tube is the 100 centimeter, and when at the same time we open both the holes here and here, so from this side NH3 diffuses, from this side HCl fuses. Okay, molar mass of the NH3 is less, so it moves faster, and molar mass of the HCl is higher, so it moves slowly. So whenever they meet each other, they always meet each other near to the container of the HCl. Suppose distance traveled by the NH3 is the x. So what is the distance traveled by the NH3? X in the time t. It is the rate of the gas of NH3. What is the distance traveled by the HCl? That is the 100 minus x. 100 minus x at the same time t. T cancel out. What is the molar mass of the HCl? Molar mass of the HCl 36.5 divided by molar mass of the NH3 17. So what we have, x upon 100 minus x, that is the under root 1.46, and if we calculate the x, that is 59.5 centimeter. Means whenever these two gases meet each other, at that point they are forming the white vapors of the NH4Cl, ammonium chloride, and that is the point which is far away, which is 59.5 centimeter away from the container of the NH3. The same question can be asked in the way that in the first container we have the laughing gas with the N2O with the molar mass 44, and in the second container we have the tear gas with the molar mass 188.6. Both the gases now diffuses. They started to diffuse at the same time. So the person those are smelling the laughing gas, they started to laugh, and the person those are smelling the tear gas, they started to cry. The person the point where the gas meet each other, that person has the tendency to same time laugh and cry. Okay, and suppose that person is the x and total person is the 100. So by the using same method we can calculate the which person has the tendency to laugh and cry at the same time. Now we have the kinetic theory of the gas. Look, all the gas laws are the experimental fact. I told you at the time of their invention, there were no theory was available to explain their behavior. So scientists Kronig, Celsius, Maxwell and Boltzmann combinedly they gave a theoretical model of the gas, and that theory is called the kinetic theory of the gas. The gas which follow the kinetic theory of the gas is completely called the ideal gas. If a gas want to behave ideally, then gas has to follow these all the conditions. There are some certain assumption, and if a gas follow all the assumption, that gas is called the ideal gas. What are the assumption? First, he said that gas is made by the very small dense point mass. They said it is the point, means point has to be the dimensionless, but these are the dense pointless mass. Okay, this point explain the particle nature of the gas, as well as it want to give the information that these are the point mass, means they are the dimensionless. Second point, they have the large free space amongst them. A particle and the distance between two particles is very large. Okay, so during the compressibility of the gas, we are minimizing this free space. Okay, if two particles are far away from each other, then we can, by the compression, we can minimize the free space between them. So this point explains the compressibility, highly compressible behavior of the gas. Next point, they are always in the random motion. They move in the zigzag motion or in the Brownian motion. The motion is the completely random. They always have the tendency to occupy all the volume available to them, and this point explain the diffusion of the gas. Next, they strike on the wall, they collide with each other, and at the same time they collide on the wall, and whenever they collide on the wall, they always exert the force in the outward direction. That force per unit area is called the pressure of the gas. So this point explain the pressure of the gas. Next, they are perfect elastic when molecules collide with each other. These are the perfect elastic collision, means there is no gain of the energy, there is no loss of the energy during the collision, but they can re-exchange the energy. Okay, whenever two molecules collide with each other, there is no net gain of the energy, there is no net loss of the energy, means energy remains conserved before the collision, and after the collision enthalpy of the collision, enthalpy change during the collision is zero. And this point explained that gas particle remains always in motion. Okay, because they are colliding with each other, and every time they change their kinetic energy, they change their velocity. Okay, next point we have, they are completely free from each other. Okay, means they don't have any kind of force of attraction or force of repulsion. Neither they have the interaction, force of attraction, or neither they have the repulsion. They are 100% free from each other. If they are 100% free from each other, we can expand that limitless. Okay, so all the gases shows the limitless expansion due to this this assumption. Now the next point is the average kinetic energy of the gas. The average kinetic energy of the gas is only the function of the temperature. The average kinetic energy of the gas molecule only depend upon the temperature. On the basis of these assumptions, they have given one mathematical model, and after that mathematical model we have a equation. We have one equation, and that equation is called kinetic gas equation. What is that equation? That equation is the PV is equal to 1 upon 3 mNCRMS square. Here P is the pressure, V is the volume, m is the mass of the one particle of the gas, and small n is the number of molecules of the gas, and CARMS is the root mean square velocity, which we'll discuss in the next slide. This m is the mass of one molecule. Here n is not the number of mole, it is the number of molecules. Gas equation, that is the PV is equal to 1 upon 3 mNCRMS square, where m is the mass of the one molecule, n is the number of molecules, CRMS is the root mean square velocity. Okay, if suppose when we have the 1 mole of the particles, then number of particle become the 1 mole, that is equal to the Avogadro number. So what we can write, 1 upon 3 m mass of the one particle into Na, number of moles, number of particles. So 1 mole into mass of one particle, that become the mass of the 1 mole of the substance, and mass of the 1 mole of the substance or gas is called the molar mass. So now what we have, PV is equal to 1 upon 3 mCRMS square. What we do in the next step, we multiplied by the 2 and we divide by the 2. What we have now, we have PV is equal to 2 by 3 half mCRMS square. Look, this half mc square is the kinetic energy, so we can say PV is equal to 2 by 3 half mc square, that is the kinetic energy, or we can say PV can be written as RT. So kinetic energy is what? Kinetic energy 3 by 2 PV or 3 by 2 RT. If you see, then in this equation, kinetic energy, average kinetic energy of the gas is only depend upon the temperature. Last point of the kinetic theory of the gas, given the same statement, average kinetic energy of the gas is only depend upon the absolute temperature. Now we have the collisions theory. Molecules collide together. Okay, and the theory related to that, what are the different terms we has? Suppose when two molecule has the closest approach. Molecules, they don't have the physical boundary. Okay, only they have the electron cloud. So when they are at their nearest approach, that nearest approach is called the collision. When the two molecule A and B are nearest to each other, the distance between their nucleus, okay, the distance between the nucleus of the two particles of the gas in their nearest approach means collision. This distance between two nucleus is called the collision diameter, and that is represented by the sigma. If we take this sigma as a diameter of one imaginary sphere, this sigma is the radius of the one imaginary sphere. We assume that one imaginary sphere with the radius sigma. Then if we want to calculate the cross sectional area of that sphere, then cross sectional area of that sphere is called the collision cross sectional area, that is the pi sigma square. Now we have the collision frequency. What is the collision frequency? How many molecular collision we have per unit second and per centimeter cube volume. In 1 centimeter cube volume, in 1 second, how many molecular collision we have? A molecular collision is the event when two molecules collide with each other. So in the one collision we require the two molecules. So how many molecular collision we have in the 1 centimeter cube volume and in the 1 ml, that is called the collision frequency. Collision frequency has the formula 1 upon under root 2 pi sigma square. CAV is the average velocity, rho square. Rho is the symbol of the density of the gas. Then mean free path. Particles are always in the random motion. They collide with each other and after every collision they changes their direction. So what is the average distance? Suppose between the first collision, lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 and lambda 4. Okay, after each collision it changes direction. So what is the average distance traveled by the gas molecule between two collisions? That is called the mean free path, lambda. Okay, so mean free path is equal to 1 upon under 2 pi sigma square CAV. Pi sigma square rho. It is the 1 upon under root 2 pi sigma square rho. Now we have the molecular velocity. What is the molecular velocity? Gas molecule are in the frequent collision with each other. After each collision they change their direction as well as they change the velocity, because I have told you that collisions are the perfect elastic. The molecule neither increase the velocity, neither increase the energy, neither decrease the energy. Okay, neither increase neither decrease, but they can exchange the energy. Means after the collision may one molecule have the more energy and second molecule has the less energy. So now the molecule with the high energy moving with the higher velocity, the molecule with the less energy moving with the less velocity. Okay, so means they can exchange the energy. If they can exchange the energy, then because kinetic energy increases, velocity of the molecule also increases. Okay, so due to that, before the collision molecule has something else velocity, and after the collision velocity will be changed. Okay, so we define the molecular speed or molecular velocity in the three manner. Look, absolute value of the molecular velocity is not possible to calculate because collision frequency is very high. In 1 second, collision frequency by molecular collision are the 10 to the power 25 to 10 to the power 28. Means in 1 second molecule change their velocity 10 to the power 25 to 10 to the power 28. So look, physical calculation, experimental calculation of the velocity are not possible. So we define the velocity in the three different manner. First one is the average velocity, CAV. Okay, what is this velocity? This is the mean of the velocities of all the particles. Suppose n1 particle move with the velocity c1, n2 particle move with the velocity c2, and n3 particle move with the velocity c3, and so on. So total velocity become the n1 into c1 plus n2 into c3, c2 plus n3 into c3 divided by total number of particle n1 plus n2 plus n3. Okay, when we solve this value, we will get the average velocity of the gas molecule. Average velocity CAV is always equal to under root 8 RT divided by pi m. Here R is the universal gas constant, T is the temperature, and M is the molar mass. Okay, it can also be written RT is equal to P. So the same quantity can be written as under root 8 PV upon pi m. Now mass divided by volume become the molar density. In such case it can be written as 8p under root 8p divided by pi d. Now we have the next velocity, that is called the most probable velocity, CMP. It is the velocity of maximum number of the fraction of molecules. Maximum number of molecules move with this velocity. Okay, look, maximum particle with the CMP. Okay, if x, y, z are the velocity, then this is the velocity which is occupied by the maximum number of the particles. Okay, how we define it? Is the CMP is equal to under root 2 RT divided by m, or under root 2 PV upon m, or under root 2 PY d. Next we have the root mean square velocity. Root mean square velocity is the hypothetical velocity. Why it is the hypothetical? Okay, by the calculating the temperature, first we can measure the temperature very easily. With the knowing the temperature, by the knowing the temperature we can calculate the kinetic energy. Then total kinetic energy divided by total number of the particles, means the total kinetic energy is equally distributed amongst all the particles. What I said? First we can calculate the temperature very easily. By the temperature calculation we can calculate the kinetic energy. Then total kinetic energy divided by total number of particles, means we have divided the total kinetic energy equally amongst all the particles, means every particle now moving with the same velocity, with the same speed, and every particle have the same kinetic energy. So it is hypothetical. Why it is hypothetical? Because we have assumed that every particle is moving with the same velocity, which is not possible, because after each collision molecule changes the energy, changes the velocity. So that's why I said it is the hypothetical velocity, but this is the only velocity we can calculate first by the knowing the temperature. Okay, so what is that? Hypothetical velocity, total velocity, total kinetic energy of the particle, total kinetic energy of the particles is equally distributed amongst all the particles. Okay, total kinetic energy of the particle, total kinetic energy equally distributed amongst all the particles. Okay, amongst all the particles, amongst all particles. Then in such case every particle will have the same kinetic energy and same velocity, which is the hypothetical case. What is the formula? CAB is equal to under root 3 RT divided by m, or 3 under root 3 PV upon m, or under root 3 PD, 3 P upon D. Okay. If we calculate the ratio of the different velocity, that is the URMS velocity is to average velocity is to most probable velocity, then it provides the ratio under root 3 is to under root 2 is to under root 8 by pi. We calculate the value, then this is the ratio, which is equal to 1.234 is to 1.125 is to 1. Means if any of this velocity is known to us, is given to us in the question, then we can calculate the remaining other two velocity. If we compare, then most probable velocity is the lowest one. It is a minimum value. It is only the ratio 1. And average velocity is higher than the most probable velocity. How many times it is higher? It is higher than the 1.128 time. And the RMS velocity is the maximum. As compared to the most probable velocity, it is 1.234 times. Next we have the Maxwell-Boltzmann velocity distribution curve. In this distribution curve, we will discuss how the velocity are distributed among the particle. Okay, before that, in the last time I have already explained you that particle at the constant temperature, they don't have the constant velocity. Okay, kinetic energy only depend upon the temperature. So kinetic energy is the constant, but molecule collide with each other very frequently, and after each time of collision they change their velocity, because I have told you that molecule whenever collide, one molecule gain the energy, second molecule lost the energy. So the molecule which has now more kinetic energy, that is now moving with the higher velocity, and the molecule which has the less velocity now moving with the less velocity. Means before the collision velocity was the something else, but after the collision the new velocity is the something else. So molecule at the same temperature even move with the different velocity. So we cannot say all the molecule has the same velocity. All the molecules move with the different velocity. Okay, so look, first different molecules move with the different velocities. In this graph, on the y-axis we have the fraction of molecule, and on the x-axis we have the velocity. And this is the nature of the graph we have. Suppose this graph as the T1. Okay, what we need to remember? Initially, as we are increasing the velocity, fraction of molecule increases. For a particular velocity, that is the most probable velocity, the fraction of molecule become the highest. I have already told you, most probable velocity is the velocity of the highest number of the particle, highest fraction of the molecule. Okay, so this peak always represent the most velocity near the origin. Near the origin, the nature of the graph is the parabolic in nature. But after the maxima, okay, now it become the exponential. Okay, and what is the first finding? No molecule in this graph, no molecule in this graph will have the zero velocity. So we cannot start this graph from the origin because no molecule have the zero velocity. Then molecule move with the very high velocity or with the very low velocity, always very less. Look, at that point, at this point we have the very less velocity, and you see what is the fraction of molecule corresponding to this velocity. It is not very high, it is very less. Similarly, this at this point very high velocity we have, and the fraction of molecule corresponding to this velocity is not also very high, it is also very less. Means the molecules with very less velocity or molecule with the very high velocity are very less. We can say the fraction of molecule those move with the very high velocity or very less velocity is very less. Next, maximum particle move with the velocity, that is the CMP or UMP. CMP and UMP are the representation of the most probable speed. I have already explained you that velocity of the maximum fraction of molecule is called the UMP. This is the velocity. With this velocity, maximum number of the particle move. Then area under the curve. Area under the curve always represent the number of the particle. Area under the curve always represent number of particle. If we increase the temperature or we decrease the temperature, number of particle neither increases nor it decreases. So number of particle remains constant with the temperature, and area represent the number of particle. If number of particle not changes, then area under the curve also not change, because area under the curve represent the number of particles. So you see the next point, area under the curve, area under the graph or under the curve, area under the curve represent the number of the particle which remains constant at all temperature. Either the temperature is less or the temperature is higher, the area at the two different temperature has to be the same, because number of particle has to be the same. Now the next, if temperature increases, fraction of molecule with the low velocity decreases or fraction of molecule with the high velocity increases. Look, first thing you need to remember that at the very high temperature, like this T2 is more than the T1. Look, first you see the T1. At the T1, peak is more. Okay, peak of the graph is more, but range is less. But as we increase the temperature, peak become less, but range become more. That graph become more broader. Okay, what we need to remember, if I draw this graph, And if I ask, this is the T1, this is the T2. So you remember, for the less temperature we have the highest peak, for the more temperature we have the lowest peak. Okay, for the higher temperature we have the less range, for the less temperature we have the lower range, but for the higher temperature we have the higher range. Okay, if I say which one is the more, so you see at the T1 we have the maximum peak, and at the T2 peak is less. Okay, so the T1 has to be the less and T2 has to be the more. At the T1 this is the range, but at the T2 range should be the higher. Okay, and then I said if temperature increases, the fraction of molecule with the lower velocity always decreases. Now you see this T2, look, T2 is the more temperature and T1 is the less temperature, and this is the very low velocity. So you see at the lower temperature T1, the molecule which move with the velocity u1 is more, fraction of molecule, okay, at the T2 is more, but fraction of molecule which move with the u1 velocity at the higher temperature is less. Suppose this is the 0.1, then this may be the 0.05. Okay, at the high temperature T2, fraction of molecule 0.5 with the less, and at the low temperature T1, fraction of the molecule with the mu1 velocity is higher. Means what I said there, again you check, as the temperature increases, okay, this point at the higher temperature T2 and this point at the lower temperature T1. So when we increase the temperature from the T1 to T2, temperature increases. Look, you see fraction of molecule always decreases. From the 0.1 it becomes the 0.05. Now we come to the higher temperature, fraction of molecule with the high velocity. Now you see this is the fraction which is more, maybe I will take 0.15. I will take this value as the 0.15, and at this point I will take as the 0.05. Look, T2 is more than the T1, then this is the higher velocity u2. At the lower temperature T1, the fraction of molecule which move with the higher velocity u2 is less, only 0.05. But at the higher temperature T2, the molecule which move with the higher velocity mu2 is the higher. Okay, so what we need to remember, as the temperature increases, the fraction of molecule with the less velocity decreases, or fraction of molecule with the higher velocity increases. Obviously it is quite simple to understand. If we are increasing the temperature, then every molecule will increase its velocity. So the molecule, those were moving with the less velocity, now they shifted to the higher velocity. So now molecule with the lower velocity decreases its fraction, and now everyone has increased its velocity. Everyone is moving with the higher velocity. Then fraction of molecule with the higher velocity has to increase. The next point, which is very important, distribution depend upon the temperature and the molar mass. This nature of the graph depend upon the temperature and molar mass. If two gases are given to you, one gas is the carbon monoxide and one gas is the nitrogen, both have the same molar mass, 28 gram. And if I draw the graph, the same graph for the two gases, nitrogen and carbon monoxide, at the same temperature, then they provide the exactly same behavior of the graph. Means graph has to be the same for the gases like carbon monoxide and N2, or carbon dioxide or N2. Carbon dioxide 44 gram, N2 is also 44 gram. So what is the last point? Distribution depend upon the temperature and the molar mass of the gas. The gas N2 and carbon monoxide, they have the same mass, 28 gram. Then their nature of the graph has to be the same if the temperature given as the constant. Means distribution of the graph, nature of the graph only depend upon the temperature and number of and molar mass. If molar mass is the same, then temperature can vary the graph. Okay, and if temperature is the same, then molar mass can vary the graph. Next we have the compressibility factor, which is one of the most important of this chapter. What is the compressibility factor? First you understand that real gas follow the ideal gas equation, ideal gas behavior, but real gas follow the ideal gas equation or ideal gas behavior under the condition of very high temperature and very low pressure. At very high temperature and at very low pressure, every gas behave like the ideal gas and it follow the ideal gas equation. Look, first point, real gas, like the gases those really we have on the earth, real gas always the PV is equal to nRT under the condition of the high temperature and low pressure. But if we decrease the temperature or if we increase the pressure or both, if we decrease the temperature or we increase the pressure or both at the same time, then under such condition now real gas don't obey the ideal gas equation. They deviate from the ideal behavior. Means for the real gas, if for the ideal gas PV is equal to nRT, then for the real gas PV cannot be equal to nRT. PV is not equal to nRT. Means real gases follow the ideal gas behavior under the condition of high temperature and low pressure. If temperature is low and pressure is high, then under such condition real gas don't follow the ideal gas behavior. They deviate from the equation PV is equal to nRT. Look, deviation from the ideal behavior increases if temperature decrease or pressure increase or both. Then extent of the deviation, how much is deviate from the ideal gas behavior. The real gas, how much is deviate, what is the extent of the deviation, how much is deviated from the ideal gas behavior is calculated in terms of the compressibility factor. What is the compressibility factor? Compressibility factor is the ratio of the molar volume of the gas to the ideal volume of the gas. Molar volume of the gas to the ideal volume of the gas. Z is the symbol of the compressibility factor. And what is that? Vn. It is the representation of the molar volume of the real gas divided by Vi. What is the Vi? Vi is the symbol of the molar volume of the ideal gas. Then Z becomes equal to the molar volume of the real gas divided by molar volume of the ideal gas, Vm upon Bi. We know from the ideal gas equation PV is equal to nRT, then volume of the ideal gas become the nRT by P. Or we have the Z is equal to PVM upon nRT. Since we are talking about the molar volume, the number of moles is 1. Then what the simple equation we have? Z is equal to PVM upon RT, or we can write PVM is equal to ZRT. Okay, suppose if in any case Z is equal to 1, for any gas if Z is equal to 1, then what we have? PVM is equal to RT, and that is the ideal gas equation. Means if for any gas if Z is given as 1, then that gas shows the ideal behavior. So now if Z is equal to 1, gas always shows the ideal behavior. Gas is neither compressible nor incompressible in nature. But when the value of the Z less than 1, when the value of Z is less than 1, gas is the real gas. It is a non-ideal gas. It is more compressible as compared to the ideal gas, and this time force of attraction dominates amongst the gas molecules. If the value of Z is more than 1, gas is again real gas. It is non-ideal gas. This time gas is more incompressible as compared to the ideal gas, and this time force of repulsion dominates amongst the particles. Okay, so now we have this graph of the compressibility factor versus pressure. For this black line, the Z value is equal to 1, means this is represent the ideal gas. Okay, At the point B, this is also called Andrews isotherm because we have draw this graph at the constant temperature. It may be the 0 degrees centigrade. This line indicate the value of the Z is equal to 1. Below this black line we have the compressible zone, and above this line we have the incompressible zone where the value of the Z is more than 1. At the point P, the temperature is sufficient high, 0 degree centigrade is sufficient high, and pressure is approximately is equal to 0. Under such condition, high temperature and low pressure, every gas behave like the ideal gas. So at point A, gas is the ideal gas. And these all the point I have explained when the pressure is increases. Okay, so from A to B, when pressure increases, force of attraction also increases. Force of attraction increases, value of the Z become less, value of the Z decreases, and this time gas is the real gas, non-ideal gas. It is more compressible than the ideal gas, and value of the Z less than 1. At the point B, we have the maximum force of attraction. If force of attraction is the maximum, then value of the Z has to be the minimum. At this point, gas again behave like the real gas. It is the non-ideal gas. Then from the point B to C, okay, when we are increasing pressure, now what happens? Force of repulsion increases. Okay, nucleus repulsion, electron repulsion increases, that overcome the force of attraction. So this time force of repulsion increases, but still it is less than the force of attraction. So value of the Z is still less than the 1, and gas is still more compressible as compared to the ideal gas. So for the line BC, force of repulsion is still there, but it is less than the force of attraction. Value of the Z now increases. Still the gas is compressible in nature, and it is the ideal gas. At the point C, force of attraction exactly is equal to the force of repulsion. Value of the Z is equal to 1. Value of the Z is equal to 1, but still the gas is the non-ideal gas. It is the real gas, because according to the kinetic theory, the ideal gas is the gas in which neither we have the force of attraction nor we have the force of repulsion, but at the point C we have the both. By chance they are in the equal amount, but both are there. Okay, so it will not justify, it will not satisfy the condition of the ideal gas equation, that is the KTG. So it is real gas in nature. Okay, but it is neither compressible nor incompressible. When the point C to D, now what happens? Now this time force of repulsion dominates, and force of repulsion become more than the 1, Z value more than the 1, and gas is the real gas. It is more incompressible. If we have the three gases, NH3, CH4 and hydrogen, then you remember that force of attraction is more, okay, then compressibility is more. Okay, means the gas which has the higher force of attraction, that shows the minimum compressibility. In this one you see the black line represent the maximum compressibility, means amongst the particle of the black gas we have the maximum force of attraction, that is the NH3, because we know NH3 has the hydrogen bonding, it shows the more force of attraction. CH4 less than the NH3, but hydrogen and helium are the gases, those only shows the force of repulsion at the normal temperature pressure condition. So we need to remember that for the hydrogen and helium are the only permanent gases in which the force of repulsion dominate. They don't have the force of attraction under the normal temperature pressure condition. Okay, now this next graph represent the PV diagram for the ideal gas and for the real gas. This we need to remember. Now in the next time, this is, I have told you, this is called the Andrews isotherm, because for the whole the process we take the temperature constant, but this is the graph for a single gas, nitrogen, but at the different temperature. Less is the temperature, more is the force of attraction, more is the force of attraction, less is the compressibility. For the black line, you see compressibility is minimum, means black line is the temperature at which we have the maximum force of attraction. Maximum force of attraction require the minimum temperature. Okay, so now next T2, you see T1 minimum force, minimum compressibility, means maximum force of attraction, minimum temperature. Then T2, now force of attraction is still there, but is less than the black one, so compressibility factor increases. We increase the temperature further, then we have the red line, force of attraction decreases, compressibility increases, and at the T4 is the temperature where only force of repulsion is present, and that dominate the force of attraction. So T4 has to be the more than the T3, T3 is more than the T2, and T2 is more than the T1. If you see, then T3 is the special temperature At the T3, the value of the Z approximately is equal to 1. It is the temperature where gas most show the ideal behavior. And this temperature is called the Boyle's temperature. The temperature at which the value of Z is approximately is equal to 1 for the given pressure range 0 to 1 atmosphere pressure. That is called the Boyle's temperature. Okay, now we see the question number 11. 390 ml of a gas A and 130 ml of a gas B diffused out through in the time ratio 2:1 under the identical condition. Calculate the MB by MA. Look, we know this formula that RA divided by RB is equal to under root MB divided by MA. Rate is defined as the volume diffused per unit time. So gas A 390 ml volume diffused in the time T, and for the gas B 130 ml gas diffused in the time 1 is equal to under root MB divided by MA. Now you see 390 divided by 130, it is the 3 times. So what we have? We have 3 by 2 is equal to under root MB by MA. If we square both the side, what we have? 9:4 is equal to MB by MA. MB by MA. So correct answer of this question is the option number 2. Okay, and which is the 9:4. Now see the next question, question number 12. It is perhaps the most easiest question of the entire video. We have the fraction of molecule on the y-axis and velocity on the x-axis, and it is given speed at the point A is the 1000 meter per second. What is the speed at the point B and C respectively in the unit meter per second? This is one of the most easiest question, because we know that maximum fraction always represent the most probable velocity. Means velocity at the point A is the most probable, then at the point B is the average velocity, and at the point C is the URMS velocity. And what is the ratio? We know UMP is to U average is to URMS is equal to 1 is to 1.128 is to 1.234. Means if the probable speed is the 1, then average velocity is the 1.128 times. If probable speed is the 1, then RMS velocity is the 1.324 times. So what is the average velocity? Average velocity is the 1.128 times of the UMP. What is the UMP? 1000. So what is the average velocity? Average velocity become 1128 meter per second. Similarly, URMS is equal to 1.234 times of the UMP. What is the UMP? 1000. When we multiply by this, what the answer we have? 1234 meter per second. So correct answer of this question is the option number 3.